Tansei. Tatawal. Hello. Welcome back. I'm Sipaku Waskatawi Win, Blue Lightning, and I'm here with part 4 of my Cree heritage and um, I guess spirit guides and a little bit of my cosmic views of my Cree people, the Neowin Neowak. A little bit about a little bit about some of our experiences and a little bit about my family. Like I said, that passed down a lot of these traditions and stories to me, and I figured I'd share a little bit more about my my story. So, as I mentioned earlier about my uncle Russell, he was a major role in my life for a lot of my spiritual understanding and cosmic view. Um, Amongst my other my other aunties and uncles that like my whole family, like they were all passed down the traditions through their father, James Mustas, and well, my mother's father, right? So they were all, like I said, we're all very connected with the spiritual world and ceremonies, and even before I was alive, and they were part of, like I said, they were very well known of that. So a lot of people did travel to come and see them and partake in ceremonies, or to be like my uncle Russell was a big healer, so a lot of people came to him for healings and different said spiritual like ceremonies, to say if they're seeking guidance, or if they needed to go to a sweat for cleansing, or if they needed to some people went on vision quests, or if they needed to be connected to that world, like my uncle would help them. So my uncle was very well known out there, and there was one man who, one of the other spiritual people that would come out and visit them would and teach ceremonies too, and share herbs and different songs and prayers, and partake in ceremonies, was a native healer from Eastern Canada, and kind of I believe he was from Manitoba, I do believe, and this is before before phones, before internet, or like reaching out, like through social media or anything like that. So he really was like kind of like sent to toward to our family, like through the universe, and he taught our family a lot of good teachings, including uh, a lot of new techniques when it came to setting up spiritual protective barriers for area, large areas and lands and stuff like that, and taught a lot of us young family generations of our family to work with the medicinal herbs, and told us a lot of legends and tales, and Mr. Haya, uh, that was his name, Mr. Haya, right? And he, which means Mr. Big. He was a very generous guy, very kind dude, and very humble. And he lived a very honest life, because he had a code from the spirit world to live by, and his whole life story is a journey on its own. He said I can share with the world, and he has since made his passing to the spirit realm to do work out there. Same thing with my uncle. He's passed on to the spirit realm, both my uncles actually, and like I said, they're doing work out there on that dimensional level. And like I said, when the time I spent with them and shared with them, learning the survival techniques, or working with the land, or legends and teachings of our ways and spirituality, I absorbed what I could, and I still live that to this day. But Mr. Haya, when he would share his stories with us, a lot of the kids, a lot of my cousins would always critique and question, like not question, but critique and have always something to say, like, oh, well, what about, or what, well, what, like, why does that, why is this like that, or this, or you know what I mean? But I never, like, I just listened, and absorbed what was being taught, and eventually he came around to me. He's like, "What about you? You never ask anything. What do you want to ask? I want to hear what you have to say." And I was like, "What about the Star Nation? Like when are my friends coming back?" And he's like, "How do you know about them? Who told you about them?" Like, they're my friends. They're gonna come back. And he's like, and this is like, I was a little kid, right? And he's like, I'll tell you that they're very connected to us, and they were there in our when the universe was being created, and they were there on that spiritual level, and they are our star family because they were there in the times of creation when everything was being created in space, and they're very connected to our prayers and our healing, and that's where a lot of our language comes from. It's from the stars, and he said, one day you'll have to go through a spiritual vision quest, or fast as they call it, and a real one. And he's like, what happened with me is when I was out on mine, he said he was out in a field. He said he was sitting out in a field praying, and he was looking at the stars. He took a moment to look at the stars and breathe, and he said the stars did like they started moving, he said, and looked like a portal, and out came this light, this orb, and it picked him up and brought him up. And when it picked him up, he was like in the interior of the ship, and that what picked him up, and these beings were standing there. They looked like us, like humans, and he's like, they were very clean, and their suit was very advanced. Well, he said their suits were very advanced. He's like, it would look like he's like very like almost looked like their skin, but it was their suits, but they were shimmering like light, like on water. That's what he said. And he said they're blue suits, and he said they took them to out in BC area, and they were showing them like Hastings Street, and they're like, how come all these people are sick like this? And he's like, oh, he had to explain to them that's our like man-made drugs, like this, what's getting them sick, and they were very concerned about those people out there. So they prayed for him to upgrade his powers so that he would be able to go out there and heal these people, because there were some very gifted spiritual individuals that needed to be like they were sent from the universe to heal like the earth, or bring forward energy into this world that would heal the earth in that sense, like whether it was their intelligence or who they were, it played a major role, right, for the universe. And so he said that to me after his time with us and our family. He was going to make a voyage to BC and live out the rest of his days healing those people, and heal as many as he can. He said he wouldn't heal all, but he said he would heal out as many as he can till the day he passed. And he did live that life, and he was very he lived honor code to the spirit world, because he had conditions that he had to live because he had those abilities, right, to heal. And he had to live in a teepee or a tent. He couldn't live in a modern home. He couldn't advance with society. He couldn't get a cell phone or anything. He couldn't be that way. He had to live out the rest of his days traditional, because that's the way he was. His energy field wasn't interfered, and it was able to be one with the universe in that sense. And my uncle often talked about that too. And he lived a very traditional life, and he was a farmer and a healer, and healed a lot of people in his time. And I'm very grateful even now to this day for the time I shared with him, and what I learned and saw in terms of his abilities to work with the universe, and our earth, and the spirits of our earth, and our cosmic universe, right? So my uncle Russell, he healed a lot of folks that were very sick, and oftentimes he would do a lot of like cleansing of bad spirit entities, or he'd cleanse a lot of like homes or places. So he'd often tell me about his experiences and like how his encounters with the man buffalo eater spirits went, and when as I got older, right, and able to understand them, and you'd say like he'd be in the house of an individual, like, and this is not our family, but he said it was another individual, um, and they were being haunted, and they were losing family members and stuff, and he said he went there, and he said it was a very strong like spirit, like he was in a room, he walked down the hallway praying, and then when he went in that hall, that trailer, this that buffalo just spirit just started running like back and forth, like from the one room, and just shut off, like all the lights were off, and just running back and forth through the darkness. And he said at one point it was even on the roof, just running back like to the other rooms and stuff, and as it tried to run and like charge at him, he shut the door, and it just broke that door. He had to move out of the way, and yeah, he said that one was a very like a close call, he said, and he ended up having to resort to bringing in a few extra like stronger like I should say stronger medicines to use to combat it, and different kind of like you have to pray for different spirit world, like not different spirit world, but different like the thunder beings, like spirit world guardians. That's what I was gonna say, but but natural guardians, like to the elements kind of deal, to help them to get rid of them, because like he couldn't just pray to like a animal spirit. He had to call upon like a stronger presence, right, to get rid of that that entity that was causing disruption in our natural flow of the universe. Because these are different dimensional beings. That I should talk more about the dimensions. But so my uncle would often talk about like how our spirit world, there's our spirits, and our energy is very much connected to the higher realms of the universe. So our existence is of that path of light. And there's a lot of times where humans and people, they get corrupted, or they choose a bad path, and they end up going down a dark road, as they would like to say, or a void. Start heading towards the void, a shadow realm, or dark spirit realm, right? And those people, like I said, they have a tough time making their way back to the light. But the light in the universe, my uncle always said, is always praying for people to come back to the light. Like, it's never against them. Like, it's always praying for them to find that connection again, and it's never giving up ever. And he say working in that realm, he's like, you'll discover your path, like in this life, like when you choose the way of the light. And the universe usually has a role for a person to play in society, in this world, and connection, and everybody has their meaning to it, right, in this existence. But including the star nations and all the beings that are returning to us. And that's what he would often say too, is that at the end of the day, after like eventually our world will advance to that. Like we're gonna be with them, and it's just gonna be common like existence with the stars and the star beings and that's what all the teachings say. Like all the visions and prophecies point to us in joining the next world, which is the star beings in that level, because they're returning to us. So I hope you enjoyed part 4 of my series, and I will do part 5. I'm continuing this. This is not the series is not over yet at all. I have a lot to talk about. I'm just kind of giving you guys a little bit of backstory and history of my family and where my teachings come from and how the tradition survived residential school and all that the colonial mindset of that era and survived throughout the times right to now. There's a lot of things like our people had to overcome and to achieve our traditions across the nations, and my tale is one of many. So, like I said, I'm happy to share this because I do a lot of talking of spirituality and stuff on this channel. So I figured I'd share it here. So thank you so much for tuning into this one, and I hope you like, subscribe, and tune into the next one. So check you out on the next one.